Welcome back. If you guys haven't been here before, my name is Burton. I'm a fashion and portrait photographer based out of Miami, Florida. The purpose of my YouTube channel is to show you guys how to practically improve your work. That's through tutorials in Photoshop like we're going to do today, and that's also showing you the BTS from various shoots that I've done and walking you through the process of how I get the shots. So today we're going to talk about dodging and burning. Now we all know there are a million videos on dodging and burning already. So I'm not gonna break down every single way to do it. I'm sure there's a video that's already doing that. What I'm gonna show you today is practical uses of dodging and burning that actually will enhance your work and doesn't take you 3 million years to get done. So let's hop into Photoshop. So looking at an image from a photo shoot I did with an amazing model. The styling on set, the vibe on set, everything was just amazing that day. So I felt really happy once I actually got into Photoshop and started working. With this image, it's already been retouched completely, but let's just go through the principles of dodging and burning. The way that I like to set up my dodging and burning layers is to use curves adjustments. I actually use the beauty retouch panel. So you don't have to use this. You can just go up here and use the curves adjustment layers and create the same thing. Or you can just download an action from anywhere because the setup is pretty much the same. The only difference between using this and something else is just literally what's included in your folders. The Beauty Retouch panel includes a visual aid group. This includes this layer here, and it includes this layer. So what this does, this kind of helps you with luminosity, so it gets rid of all of the color. So the main thing that you're seeing here is just the luminosity values or just the tonal ranges within your image. This layer creates a bit of contrast, as you guys can see here, just so that you can actually see detail without getting too distracted. So it kind of shows you where there are changes in the tonal ranges. So you can use this. I don't always use it. A lot of times I just get the layers here, the dodge and burn layer, and I begin my process. So let's delete that. And let's focus just on the dodge and burn layers. So essentially dodging is gonna brighten your image and burning is gonna darken your image. So if you guys look here, that's why on the curves adjustment layer, this point was brought up for the dodging layer. And when we click over here to the burn lever, it's brought down. Part of having it set up this way is that you're able to create a mask, and this mask will reveal itself when you paint white. So when we click on here, each one of these, and we paint white on a dodge layer, that part's gonna get brighter. Let me show you an example. I'm gonna set my brush to I'm gonna set it to 100. So I'm gonna exaggerate it quite a bit. But let's say that we were dodging here. It looks really crazy, right? But as we paint with white on that mask, it reveals that change, okay? Let's get rid of that. And if we go to that same area on the burn layer and we do the same exact thing, it gets really, really dark, okay? That makes sense. If you guys haven't worked with masks before, when a mask is completely white, it shows everything that you did here. If you guys flip your mask for the burn layer, it's gonna make everything completely dark like we did here, okay? So as we paint white, we will reveal dark or we will reveal lightness. So when trying to figure out what you should dodge and burn, that all has to do with what you're trying to achieve. So you don't want to dodge and burn the exact same way on every image. Some images require less, some require more. It really depends on what you're looking for. Also, the purpose of dodging and burning is to create depth within an image. If we're on the burn layer, we have our flow set to 3% flow, 100% on the opacity on a soft brush, meaning the hardness is at 0. And we follow along her cheek and we darken there. And if you go below her cheek and brighten here and brighten above it, it looks absolutely crazy. But it creates depth. That looks really crazy, but it creates depth, right? It makes her jawline look more chiseled. It makes her cheeks and her cheekbones look way more chiseled. You guys see that? So obviously we don't want to go this far. Now that we understand that the purpose of dodging and burning is to create depth, you want to figure out, okay, where do I want to create depth in the image and where would it help or be flattering for my subject if there is more depth? So one of the ways that we can do that is by following what's already available. In the sense of if this area is already bright, we can go ahead and brighten a little bit more. So we're gonna go to the dodge layer, because these are the places that are already naturally, that should already naturally have depth to it, or protrude a little more. It should stick out more from wherever it is. So on most people, that's gonna be above your eyelids. We're gonna go right here. That'll be on your forehead. Your forehead already has a bright spot, so we don't really wanna add more to that. That'll be along the nose. That'll be under the eyes. You see I'm not doing everywhere and I'm not going super crazy. We're gonna follow along the mouth line. We're gonna go this highlight here on the chin. Slightly follow here. And then from a burn perspective, we're gonna go basically the opposite, or not the opposite, but we're gonna follow the same kind of thinking, meaning we're gonna darken what's already quote unquote dark, and then also keep in mind where we've already done some dodging. So for burn, we're gonna go along the nose. And these are typical places that you will burn. Eyebrows, just to make those a little bit darker. This area here, along the eyebrows. So if you guys are following me, I'm just going along and I'm following what's already dark. Let's dodge on this side a little bit. And it creates more shape. And you guys see, I'm not zoomed in super far. You don't want to do this and be zoomed so far in that you lose perception of what is actually happening. So let's show you an example without it, with it. Let's center the image. So you see what it did? It created more depth to her face. Now, it wasn't necessary. It is overkill, but I just want to show you the concept of how it works. And also where to do it. So I would also follow along her neck. And you see, we're gonna follow the areas that are already dark and already light. So we're on the burn layer. We already see right here that there's a shadow. So let's follow that shadow and create more depth. A little strong, but we're gonna follow on the clavicle, underneath the clavicle. And what this does, it also makes the person look more toned. Not necessarily more muscular, but just more toned. Which, you know, perceive however you want to see it, but you see we're following what's already there. We're not doing too much. We're just literally just following what's already there. Now, again, this is overkill because this image was already pretty good, but you can see what happens when you add any additional dodging and burning. That makes sense, guys? This can also be done in the eyes as well. Pretty sure I've already done this on the eyes, so this is gonna look really, really crazy when I finish with it. But we're on the dodge layer, and again, we're gonna follow what's already been done. Let's make sure we turn it on. There we go. So we're on a dodge layer, and we're just following what's already been done. What already exists is a better statement. We don't need to redefine what's already been defined. All right, so now we're gonna switch over to the burn layer. I should have told you guys what we're doing. So I was brightening the whites of the eyes slightly, not a ton, and then all the highlights within the eyes, or the catch lights. So now that we're in a burn layer, we're gonna burn the pupil on the outside of the eye. I'm being really heavy-handed right now, so do not be this heavy, okay, guys? There is no reason. Let's undo that. The pupil, outside of the eyes. And now when we zoom out, it's gonna look really crazy. Come on, computer. Thank you. Thank you. So you guys see the difference? Again, I went really heavy-handed to really show you guys what it can do. But dodging and burning is a super powerful tool. So let's move on to another image. So this is another image that's already been done. I've already done everything I would normally do to it. But again, I just want to show you guys what it would look like if your image was flat and we needed to dodge and burn. So we can go up here, press dodge, press burn. This will give me those layers without giving me the help layer. So we're on the burn layer, and let's say we wanted to enhance her makeup. We're gonna follow what's already there. Let's get our flow to like 2%. When I'm dodging a burn, it's usually between 1 and 2%. See how 1% is super heavy? There we go. Well, 3% was super heavy. We're gonna follow what's already there. You can see where the sun is already. You can see those highlights. So we're just gonna go on the opposite of the highlights, essentially, to create more depth, to create more shape. And we're going around and we're following what's already there. And then we're gonna switch over to our dodge layer. And you can see this highlight right here, right guys? You see that highlight? We're gonna follow that highlight. This is already pretty bright, so we don't really need to go in here and make it brighter. But for the sake of the example, let's say that we did. And then you wanna come under here, which I don't really want to make brighter. So I know it's gonna look crazy, but again, I gotta remember we're just doing this for the example of showing you guys where you would typically dodge and where you would typically burn. Let's increase that shadow. And we're gonna go here. Again, clavicle, we're gonna follow what's already dark. We're not gonna redefine it, but we're gonna just follow what's already been given to us. Clavicle, let's go to our dodge layer and go under. Now she's gonna look super, super defined after this. It's gonna be a lot of depth, but that's what this is just a teaching moment. It's a teaching moment. Reminding myself, Dion, this is not a final edit. You are just showing people how to use the tool. And you can show the results. So this is going to look absolutely nuts. But it's gonna show you how powerful the tool is. Again, this is overkill. Even if we brought this down a little bit, 35% for both layers. Now that's not bad. That's more reasonable. But at 100, that looks crazy. That looks absolutely crazy. That's not what we're going for. Because of how I shot the image, I shot it a little bit darker, or in photography terms, I underexposed the image. I don't need to actually do a ton of burning. I don't need to make things darker. If I want to create depth, then I want to actually just brighten up things. To show you guys even further, let's just go straight to the mask. If you hold down Alt and click on the mask, it'll show you just what you did. So as you guys can see, I didn't make a ton of changes. It's a few minute changes as far as where I wanted to actually add dodging to the image. So I followed what I was given in the image. So I'm following the highlights on her leg, on her rib cage, on her abs, or her torso, following up on her bust line, her neck, her cheeks, her hands. Not anything crazy, super, super simple. And then I went through the rest of my process and we get here. Now the rest of my process is color grading and adding noise and sharpening, so on and so forth. But you can see how it all played out with me adding in that dodge layer. So let's go to another image. So now on this image, it was kind of the opposite. Not kind of, it was the opposite. I didn't need to brighten anything because of how I shot the image. I need to actually darken a few areas to add more depth and to further define her legs and her body. So as you guys can see, right here, just focus on her legs. Let's press Alt and click on the mask, and you guys can see I pretty much only used the burn layer on her legs. I didn't use it a whole lot of places. I didn't need to do a whole lot of changes, especially because I know I was gonna go into frequency separation and fix it. But you guys can see like what I did here. So if we toggle on and off on her legs, just emphasize what was already there. And then I went through the rest of my changes, and we get to this image, or we get to this final image. Beautiful, beautiful shot. And so lastly, okay, so now we're in this image. This is one of my best friends and one of my favorite models and my favorite makeup artists and one of my favorite designers. Her name is Toria. So with this shoot, we wanted to focus on the earrings, but we wanted to give it a couple of different variations of it. So while I was retouching, obviously, I used some dodging and burning. Most of my changes were just to enhance the makeup. And as you guys can see, it worked pretty well. So the dodge layer was just the highlights that I was already given on her eyelids, on her nose, on her lips. And then we burned along her lips, along her eyelashes, her eyelids, and that was pretty much it. And then also, you can dodge and burn pretty much anything in the image. That's fabric, that's skies, that's mountains, that's dogs, that's fur, anything. So in this scenario, I also dodged and burned the earring. Let's zoom in. You guys can see with it off, with it on, with it off, with it on, with it off, with it on, just to make it pop. So you don't need to go crazy with it, but it's a great tool to have in your back pocket. And then we get to this final image. Hopefully this tutorial on dodging and burning helped you guys out. I know the dodging and burning for newcomers can be a bit overwhelming. It feels like it's a lot of information. Sometimes you're just not even sure how you should be using dodging and burning and when to use dodging and burning. But don't be afraid of it. It can be one of your best friends. It can really save you in a lot of times. And when done correctly, it really helps your images pop. So if you guys have any questions about dodging and burning, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Also, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more updates and more videos. I'm looking forward to helping you guys out as much as I can. Stay tuned to the next video, and remember, make sure you're making art that you're proud of.